So in my last videos, I talked about how Charlie Fiction got started, but it's not really how it came to be. Now, it started with this paragraph. I wanted to write a compelling paragraph. And then I wrote some rants, a couple of rants that, probably maybe got, I don't know, 6 or 7 chapters, maybe 8 chapters. And then I just stalled out. I was like, okay, what am I going to do with a bunch of rants? Great. It's good for me. Catharsis. I'm going to throw my stuff out there. But it's not a novel. And if I'm going to subject people to one of my stories, it actually has to be well put together, right? So I was working on other things. I was working on epic fantasy novels. Enter Donald Maass at the Pikes Peak Writers Conference. And I'll mention the Pikes Peak Writers Conference a lot because it's such a fantastic conference. But anyways, it was 2017, I believe. And I was sitting down with him having a drink, and he asked me what I was working on. Don Maass is a great guy. He's so charged all the time. He's inspiring just to be near because he loves stories. And he said to me, so you're working on this epic fantasy novel, and that's great, and you should, because you're a great epic fantasy writer. But I want to ask you this: how many people are waiting for that novel? Is it 5,000? Is it 10,000 people are waiting for that novel? He said, so what's the novel that millions of people are waiting for? Why aren't you writing on that novel? I thought, I don't know. If I knew what that novel was, I would be writing on that novel. And I said, well, there's this one novel that I'm kind of working on. I just have a paragraph about it, and it's really just an exercise. He's like, well, what is it? And I said, okay, so there's this guy, and he's sitting on his couch, and he hears a knock at the door, and he gets up and answers the door, and there's the girl that he and his best friend killed 19 years ago. And he's like, I got chills. Show me that story. He's like, send me that story. I want to see that story. And so I was so inspired. Like I said, he's just such an inspiring guy that I ran up to my hotel room and I wrote, I think, 2 chapters in 30 minutes. My mind was exploding with all the possibilities of where I could go with that. And that's when Charlie really began. And in the subsequent weeks, I would put together the entire rough draft. It took me 17 days. So I told you I had kind of like 6 or 7 chapters to start, and then I reworked some of those, and boom, just exploded and wrote the whole rough draft in 17 days.